Hi everybody, I want to do a quick demonstration just showing you a couple of tricks to dial in your maps. With this first map, I want to make it clear that what we want to focus on is a hierarchy on the page. So most important, the map needs to be the biggest thing. How you do that is you use these tools, and I hope you can see this. This is on the standard toolbar. There's the zoom in tool and the pan tool. So I can use the zoom in tool, and I'm going to click and then hold down to draw a rectangle around it. And it's going to try and force what I drew into the data frame. This is the data frame window here. So I really want to start with maximizing the data frame so I can make the map as big as I can make it on the page. And you could even extend these beyond. Another trick to doing that is to right click on one of the data that is like a full extent of the data. Right click on it and say zoom to layer. It's going to zoom that layer in and try and make it fit. Now it automatically creates a little bit of a margin, so that may work, and it may work better to go ahead and just draw your own rectangle. So I've forced that to be the biggest thing. Then I want to rearrange my elements on the page. And I want to make sure that I'm creating a strong hierarchy so that the audience knows what to look at first. And I did see a lot of maps that looked very similar to this, and that's great. I just want to show you a couple little things you can do to just kind of drive it home. One thing would be to switching this to landscape, because we've got all this empty space because we've got a portrait layout right now. So under File, you can go to Page and Print Setup, and then there's a radio button that you can push to make it landscape. Now it's kind of giving you a preview and showing you that the data frame window isn't going to fit, so you can scale the map elements, push this button, and it forces the data frame down so that you don't have to do as much monkeying around. But you still want to maximize the data frame, because this is sort of the opening in the mat that we can see the data through. And then go back in and zoom in and kind of force it to fit on the page. Wow, look at that, already much more commanding. Now the title looks too small. So the easiest way, I think, to deal with the title or any other text on your page is to use this draw toolbar. And you open toolbars by going to an empty space up here and right-clicking and then choosing draw. I like to keep mine docked down here, so you can drag it down here. In the computer labs, that won't really help you because it's going to reset these kinds of things every time you log on. But if you're working on your own laptop, it'll save this every time you open Arc. But with this title selected, now it's just a matter of changing your font size down here. It's much easier than going into the properties. So maybe something like that. And then what are we going to do with this stuff down here? Well, I like to recommend that students help kind of maintain these margins. Right now I've got author and data credits. On this side I would do a left align. And so you can double click on that and just left align those to kind of support the margin. And then down here it is fairly well aligned, so we can do that. Now I would argue that these are too big relative to everything else, and so I would go ahead and make these even smaller. And with the data credits, I tend to even make them a light color, reduce the contrast a little bit, so go for gray. We really don't want these to jump off the page. This is also too big, I think, and this is just a matter of what I usually do is I kind of squint at my map. I sit back a little bit and squint and ask myself what's jumping off the page. Obviously this should be commanding. If you had a legend, you would want legend or labels on the map to be the third most visible thing, and then data credits and author. Now it is totally legit to put your data credits, or sorry, your author underneath the title as a subtitle. That's done. You don't have to center things, you just want to be deliberate. And so if you're going to put it off to the side here, I would maintain the same margins everywhere. So this is a little bit funky to do it this way, but why not? You know, there's a little bit more white space. It creates kind of a nice, interesting composition. So those are just some of the kind of tips from week 1. We really want to see you mastering the skills of using the pan tool, which is the hand, and being able to just kind of drag your data just a little bit like this, and then using the zoom in and zoom out tools. Know that the other toolbar here is the zoom in, zoom out, and pan, but these function on the paper itself. So you'll see these in layout view. If I wanted to zoom in and see the details of my data credits, this won't affect the map in any way. It just zooms in on the piece of paper, the digital piece of paper. So this recenters the paper on the page. So I would spend, if I can implore of you to spend time this first week really getting comfortable manipulating the data frame. Oh, the other thing I was going to show you is the data frame window. So I'm clicking now and the data frame is now active. If I right click and go into the properties, or you can double click, that's fine, and go into the frame tab, there's lots of different options here, but the frame tab lets you choose the border. So you could make it gray and a little bit thicker. You could, let's just apply that. I did not seem to like that one bit. For goodness sakes. So I grayed out the frame so it wasn't quite so dark. You can see now the title is the darkest thing. You can also do a fill or just turn it off. So if you scroll all the way to the top here, there's none, and that way this won't print at all. You can do a background fill on it instead, something like that. So now you can see the black line is gone, the gray line is gone, and we just have a fill on the data frame window. So lots of little tricks that you can do, but this is kind of the focus of week 1. As we get into week 2 and 3, we'll start focusing on how to insert and edit a legend and a scale bar, but I want to make sure that you're building kind of the muscle memory to just interact with the data frame, the zoom, the pan, and dealing with the data frame borders. Really maximize the presentation on the page. If you have any questions, let us know, and that's it. Talk to you next week.